What up, Hope Biscuits? It's your girl Skitten, back at it again. Well, hello, stranger.
We're here for Tier Zoo! I am a stranger. We haven't shot Tier Zoo in forever. Your face is off camera. Come slide into me so they can see your disappointment in all of its beauty. Tier Zoo! If this was a shirt, it would be lit in here.
Okay, you gotta stop because your hair's wet.
Oh, I forgot. I'm splashing.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue. Yes. Hi.
It's fine. We're here to watch Tier Zoo. My husband is here. He hasn't been on my channel in a while. He hasn't been on his own channel.
I've been in detention.
In a while.
I'm a rogue.
YouTube has been laying the smackdown on our channel.
The Shawn Michaels.
Man.
The Action Bronson.
I need them to chill for a second, please.
Please.
So it's so nice to have you, and for such a momentous video.
Right.
So we're a little bit late on this, but it's not our fault. It's YouTube. Okay, it's YouTube's fault. You can blame YouTube. But Tier Zoo has a video out called Our Claws OP.
Show them your claws.
I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying safe and sanitized. My husband cannot contain his excitement, so...
Or my loins. So let's get into the party.
Man, you know...
Let me in.
I could just shoot this myself, you know?
You put Hisaka on my shirt. You want me to act up.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Oh!
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Snake, are you okay?
Snake, are you okay? Oh, I missed you, Tier Zoo.
When speccing your character, it's important to choose equipment that integrates well with your chosen build's combat
Just
style
smacked
and
it and
minimizes
took it?
its inherent vulnerabilities. Weapons like horns and fangs are capable of inflicting massive damage,
stressed!
but using them in battle can leave a player vulnerable to counterattacks, and their value is mostly limited to 1v1 situations. Balancing the risk and damage potential of launching an attack is a key strategic consideration when equipping any type of weapon. So today we'll discuss one that comes as a standard feature on many of the most viable builds in the game: claws. Claws are versatile,
I'm on the right side, you're on the left.
I'm gonna do that, but very shoddily.
Yeah.
Because I'm lazy.
close-range weapons that can be used for offense or defense without sacrificing much in terms of mobility. They do require the user to get someone close to the enemy to launch an attack, but due to the low end lag on most standard slashing and swiping claw strikes, these tend to be one of the safest attack options a player has access to. Unlike some other weapons, claws can usually be regenerated if damaged, allowing them to be used freely with minimal risk. Claws can be used against multiple enemies at once if the build has decent mobility, making them an excellent choice for generalists and tanks alike. They can also be specialized into a variety of secondary perks that allow the user to climb, dig, or run at extreme speeds without slipping. Claws can be optimized for piercing, slashing, or crushing damage depending on which basic type you spec into.
Okay.
While some members of the arthropod faction have tiny hooked claws that are used for the mobility perks alone, others equip pincher type claws called chelae that can inflict massive crushing damage.
That was disgusting.
Yeah.
And also, I never considered that what bugs have are also considered claws.
Yeah, they are.
When I think of claws, I don't think of bugs.
No, you think of like what? Felines?
Yeah, I think of mammals.
Yeah.
And mammalian type creatures, and then crustaceans.
Yeah.
But even crab claws, like I don't, you know.
You don't think of claws when you think of crab claws.
No,
you
I
think
think of like pinchers.
Retractable.
Pincers.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a type of claw.
I guess they are. Yeah.
Size of chelae relative to the user's body varies between build classes, but they can be used in combat even on the smaller end due to the additional perk of being able to immobilize opponents. Crustacean builds like crabs and lobsters can use claws to crush or dismember prey, a devastating attack if it connects, though it can be fairly easily dodged by more mobile players. Scorpions can use their claws to inflict knockback, or as a physical barrier to keep an enemy away from their vitals. But they also enable them to use an extremely powerful grappling combination move. While an enemy is immobilized in their claws, scorpions use their flexible stingers to inflict massive piercing and venom damage.
Right.
This attack is more effective than crushing alone, but the trade-off between physical power and venom potency means that some scorpions are still weak against builds that can deflect or withstand their stings. Instead of modifying entire limbs into crushing pinchers, many tetrapod builds can equip individual claws to each digit and then use them to inflict piercing or slashing damage.
Okay.
Reptile and mammal builds that spec into claws usually equip them to all 4 limbs, using them for combat as well as their broad array of secondary functions. Tetrapod builds in earlier expansions experimented with a variety of claw specializations, with Therizinosaurus dumping the most evolution points into the trait of any build in history. These giant curved claws were primarily used to hook and pull vegetation in order to access the best loot, but they served the secondary function of being used to attack or intimidate predators in a similar strategy to that of anteaters in the current meta. Megatherium is another example of a build that went all in on claws, but theirs were specialized to withstand the impacts of intense digging, and thus were much more powerful in combat as a result. Although Megatherium were large enough to repel most enemies using intimidation alone, succeeding in a meta where Smilodon were the apex predators meant that their claws needed to be ready for serious action when necessary. While Thenocerosaurus and Megatherium are no longer playable builds, the basic tetrapod claw specializations that they pioneered are still influential in today's meta. While some mammal variants spec into nails or hooves instead, claws are still an extremely common limb equipment choice and are used for everything from climbing and foraging to attacking enemies. Digging is a common specialization for mammal players, with builds like the armadillo and anteater leveraging their claws to access hard-to-reach resources. At the extreme end of this ability, moles use their long, thick claws and sensory modifications to complete their entire playthroughs in subterranean maps.
Every time I see moles and I see the little thing, I'm just like, ugh.
And they're blind, so they have to put it on top of your body. I'm breathing you in to see.
Stop it. Don't touch me. That's how I feel. Also, in the Jurassic Park movie that your parents took me to go see.
For your birthday.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That Therizinosaur, whatever he said, I'm sorry. I read it and it immediately fell out of my brain. But that dinosaur played a very big part in that. It's pretty cool.
It was in the movie.
Yeah.
So, like, what did it do?
Killed things.
Did it claw them to death? Did it
Yeah.
Tyson
Yeah,
them with
literally.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
It was great.
That's dope.
It was great. No spoilers, though.
Right. Yeah, it's not a
But,
spoiler.
like, also kind of a spoiler.
It's a hype trailer. Yeah. I'm with
murdered.
it. Death.
And then went back to eating the leaves.
Right. I'm an omnivore. I'm not interested in you right now. I need a salad. I got heartburn.
Not heartburn.
Where they can farm out invertebrate players for XP.
Like worms.
Other mammal builds spec into lighter claws to preserve dexterity and use them more in a generalist fashion.
Hello there,
But
bud.
this means they can only inflict minor scratch damage.
Sorry, it looks like he's balding and not happy about it. It's just like, dude, this is in front of my head. My father's father had hair.
You gotta let it go, bro.
It's just time.
and use them more in a generalist fashion. But this means they can only inflict minor scratch damage in combat situations. The cloven hooves of even-toed ungulate builds like pigs and deer technically are claws as well, which add cutting edges to already powerful limbs and increase the damage inflicted by kicks.
Those don't count.
The little slapping propellers.
Those don't count.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was thinking of when the video started, is if hooves counted, because the claws are just like that,
but only
keratin or whatever.
Yeah, but only split hooves count.
Right, not the full
Not
rounded hoof, because
yeah.
it's not a claw. It doesn't do any clawing. It does
So
hoofing.
wait, are cow hooves split?
No, not in the front and the back.
So they technically have claws.
No. In the front, it's rounded. No rounded feet,
okay.
Right? Look at a cow
know.
foot.
I've never looked at it. You had cows.
Yeah, but now I'm confused by their horse feet and cow feet. Look at that. I also want you to see the foot of a cow.
I don't want to see the foot of a cow.
Look up cow feet.
Cow. I don't
Feet.
know.
Feet.
I'm gonna put cow
Type
hooves.
feet.
No.
She put hooves.
They are split.
Yeah.
Cows have claws.
Look at the little cow hoof.
It's not a hoof. It's a claw. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I know. I'm fierce. Fear me.
cutting edges to already powerful limbs, and increase the damage inflicted by kicks. Mammals
It's a
in the
slight disagreement.
carnivora faction all have claws, but only some are fully dependent on them to
that
take
was
down
cool.
enemies. Felids have extremely sharp claws that retract when
Are
not
those
in
bears?
use, conserving their durability
Oh, no,
and
felines.
allowing them
I'm
to
an
move
idiot.
silently when preparing to ambush an opponent. These claws provide additional traction and therefore movement speed when extended, but more importantly, they greatly increase both the damage and grappling capability of these felids.
It's over.
This grappling can be used in a deadly combination, where
Ooh.
claws immobilize an opponent so the user can safely inflict lethal bite damage.
But you have
They're
claws
also
too. Fight
remarkably
back.
effective for climbing, which opens up access to areas of the map that other carnivore
That's
builds
still one of
can't
the craziest
reach.
videos
With
I've
some
ever
of the
seen.
best speed and power stats in the game, felids are absolute killing machines
Oh, man.
that use claws
That's
to
so
decimate
cool.
bird and mammal player bases. For builds which lack the ability to retract their claws, the repeated contact with the ground causes them to become dull and less useful for climbing or combat, but they do still provide solid mobility bonuses. Since bird forelimbs are modified into wings, most avian builds can only equip functional claws to their feet. Hoatzins have the unique ability to equip claws to their forelimbs that are used for climbing, but this ability is shed at higher levels in favor of
Got
flight,
it.
and all
Okay.
other birds
man.
are restricted to hind limb claws only. While this may seem like a limitation, members of the raptor faction use their claws and wings in conjunction to carry out some of the deadliest ambush
Yeah, that
attacks
is a
in the
claw.
game. Their absolutely busted sensory abilities and mobility stats allow them to attack before an opponent can even detect their presence,
That's
impaling
so
them with sharp
cold-blooded,
talons
dude.
before they have time to react and counterattack. However, raptor legs are relatively short and their wings can't deal much damage in their own right, which limits their ability to counterattack when an enemy launches an attack on the ground or from behind. In a major departure from the typical avian playstyle, some birds dump evolution points into their legs and feet at the expense of their flight ability. This strategy hinges on having a high enough run speed to evade most enemies, and enough power in their legs to disembowel enemies with dagger-like claws when challenged. Both types of avian builds can be viable against certain opponents, but their inability to inflict much damage with their wings leaves them vulnerable to rushdown and more powerful builds, and underscores the benefits of having claws equipped to all four limbs.
Right.
Claws are an excellent weapon choice for players with the flexibility and limb lengths needed to
That's
maximize their
cool.
threat range. But even on less mobile
job, dude.
builds, they're still well worth the investment. These versatile weapons are at their best when they're used either as a safe, non-committal attack to chip away at an opponent, or as part of a grappling combination move that anchors an opponent in place, while additional
Oh my
damage
God.
is inflicted by either teeth or stingers. As the top-tier claw users, felids are definitely OP, as they have pretty much the perfect setup to maximize the utility of their highly specialized claws. So don't expect to immediately skyrocket up the tier list the moment you spec into the claws trait,
Nice.
as the felid class may be a bit of an outlier. However, claws are still a valuable addition to almost any build that can equip them, and cost very little in terms of evolution points considering
You
how many
working
new
so
options
hard.
and strategies they can add to a character. On the subject of claws, you may have noticed that I didn't discuss one of the
agile.
game's most famous claws in this video.
I thought you did.
On that note, I have a bit of an announcement. I've been secretly working on something big, my own 3D animation studio. I want to make one of the best educational wildlife shows ever, and finally answer the types of questions that I constantly get asked. Who would win in a fight between... well, I mean, take your pick. So far, I've been limited in what I've been able to show on this channel, since many animals never meet, and are separated by either distance or time. Through the magic of 3D animation, I want to bring these confrontations to life for all of you to witness.
Really nice.
The first episode will pit one of history's most lethal claws against one of prehistory's most deadly fangs. I've been working super hard, and although the first episode isn't quite ready, it'll be premiering on Nebula soon, and I don't want you to miss it. Many of you
Nice.
know by now that Tears has been a longtime partner of Nebula, a creator-owned streaming service whose mission is to empower creators to make high-budget content that they couldn't otherwise. Well, I'm no exception, and I'm really shooting for the moon here. So please, check out the sponsor of today's video, the Nebula Curiosity Stream
That's
Bundle.
actually really fucking
Curiosity
cool.
Stream
Yeah, that's really cool. So, it has been known for a while that that's been somebody who's been working with, but
Yeah.
I didn't know to that extent.
No, I'm super stoked. I'm super excited about
Yeah.
it.
Just the little things that he takes to go to the next level with comparing like video games to animals. I really enjoy stuff like that.
He's really thought out like this whole system Like, he's really thought about it, you know? He didn't just, like, put this together in 2 seconds. He's really considered what the tier lists are and, you know, like, what the comparisons are. So I really like that.
He's got, like, he's so far in, like, he's so deep. I feel like we're going to get to a spot where you either get it or you don't. Like, you're going to, like, either know what his content is about and follow along, or you're going to be completely lost.
Yeah, you're just going to be like, I don't even know what this man is talking about.
What do you mean? This is not a video game. These are dinosaurs. What is he talking about? I also want to know if, when he does this, like, comparison, if he's going to have a part where he, like, corrects part of his tier list, or if that's not going to be tier list based
at all.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to know.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see what he ends up doing with this evolution of his content.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave your reaction requests and recommendations down in the comments below. Husband, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure having you.
I feel like I can finally decompress after getting the Tier Zoo video. I was waiting for it for a long time, and I think it's pretty awesome.
I think it was fantastic. And other than that, peace out, hope biscuits. It's Skitten lit.
Want to watch somebody shave down a cow hoof?
No.
It's pretty cool. I found one on
Nobody
YouTube the
wants
other
to
day.
watch that.